Welcome to the NFL draft, or at least our NFL draft. The NFL draft is tomorrow in Las Vegas. The futures of teams are all decided over the next couple of days. Will the Giants make a mockery of themselves again? Same with the Jets, Texans, Lions, and Jaguars, as they seem to do. Or will me and Brandon, with our draft picks, possibly make them dynasties of the future? Today's format, without Alec, sadly, is going to be me starting out with the first pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brandon will take the second, and we will flip flop as we go down, completing the first round today. We will only be doing the first round. Um, you may be wondering why I'm wearing a suit and a blazer in classes. Well, starting today, and every subsequent NFL draft that we cover, every mock draft we make, I will be Kel Miper because we don't have Mel Kiper, and my name's Kellen, so it all kind of works out that way. Um, so, Brandon, let's get into this Jacksonville Jaguars. Holy crap, do they have a ton of needs?
They do. They just locked up Robinson on an extension today.
They did lock up Robinson, a $54 million extension, their left tackle, which is very big for them. I mean, when you look in this draft, there's offensive linemen galore here with Ikem Ekwonu from NC State, Evan Neal from Alabama. But I think we all agree that Jacksonville is going to be looking on the defensive side, specifically defensive linemen. And for a while, Kayvon Thibodeau was up there in that discussion. Aiden Hutchinson was there. But of late, with the absolutely absurd combine that he put up, Travon Walker has taken favor into being the Jacksonville number one spot. And I can't help but agree in this situation. I think he has a higher ceiling than Aiden Hutchinson is. I think he's better. In certain aspects, just physically, he's bigger and he's got longer arms, so he can do all those swim moves around offensive linemen. I think he'll just have an easier time getting the quarterback than Aiden Hutchinson would. So I'm going to go with what is the presumed favorite right now, and I will be taking Travon Walker for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I don't agree with you.
Okay.
Like 100%. I just don't agree with that pick. I don't know where it's coming from. I mean, I understand the kid.
Well, who do you think it should be?
I think they're just stuck with Hutchinson. I mean, That's what it's been. That's what he is.
But when you look at him, he's not built physically in the same way you would expect a defensive edge in the NFL.
So what's the difference between Walker and Hutchinson?
Walker just has an NFL body. They're equally as fast. They equally get to the quarterback. But Aiden Hutchinson's arms, that's the one thing. That's the same kind of issue they have with Kenny Pickett with his hands. They don't believe his body is built to be incredibly efficient at pass rushing in the NFL. His arms are really short, preventing him from getting leverage on those offensive linemen. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that Aiden Hutchinson shouldn't be the first overall pick, or nor would I be surprised if they take him, or disappointed that they take him, because he's a great player. I just think for the future, Travon Walker would be the better player.
Well, that's why you chose Travon Walker. You did have the first pick in the draft with Jacksonville Jaguars. I just don't agree with it. I understand the hype. It's just crazy to see someone like that jump as much as he has in the past, month? I mean, he was a second-round pick. Now he's a number one overall pick, possibly. Betting favorite right now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why that has happened. I guess people go into these analytics and these pro day stats, which I'll get into later about another prospect for tomorrow's first-round draft, or tomorrow's draft in Las Vegas. So with that being said, I've got the second pick. That's the Detroit Lions. And since, Hutchinson is still up there, you might as well go with the homeboy. Went to Michigan, stay in Michigan, goes to Detroit. Detroit Lions will be taking Hutchinson, no doubt. I mean, that's just what it is. If Hutchinson does go first, I don't think Walker goes to the Lions. I think I wouldn't be surprised if I see a Sauce Gardner go there, or Derek Stingley go there at number 2. They need some defensive backs, especially to team up with Jeffrey Okudah, who was a rookie a couple years ago out of Ohio State. But I think what they needed the most this past year, besides everything, was probably a defensive end. I think Hutchinson will help them out there.
Well, awesome, man. That's another. Obviously, that's where I would have had Hutchinson going. So I agree with everything you said in the terms that the Lions absolutely need him to build on from the future. They fixed their offensive line this past year in the draft. And they got Penei Sewell, right? That's who they drafted.
Offensive lineman.
Yeah, it was a huge pickup for their offensive line. Now we move on to the Houston Texans, and this one is a little more difficult in deciding, because I do have a personal preference, and I do believe that's where I'm going to go as my personal preference for this pick. But I mean, you look at guys like Kayvon Thibodeau, who is an athletic freak, but at times does not show the determination you like to see. And Brandon, as a guy you mentioned not too long ago, Derrick Stingley Jr., insanely great cornerback, who's trickled off this past season just because he wasn't as productive as he was the previous year at LSU. I mean, if they're really feeling wild, they could go with a wide receiver here because there's just so many talented ones, or maybe go with an offensive lineman to protect your boy Davis Mills, in the quarterback position. He's probably going to be the future of that team for a little while if they had Matt Schaub there for that long. But like I said, I'm going to go with my personal preference, a guy who I think is just an athletic freak and is bar none the best zone corner in the entire draft class, Ahmad Sauce Gardner.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you can go either one with Stingley or Gardner at that point. You're really not missing out on much if you go with the other person. I mean, they're both probably the best cornerbacks in the draft completely. I know there's a bunch of other ones. I know there was, I think it's like Elam Claire out of Florida. I know he was up there as far as cornerbacks go. And I know there was McDuffie out of Auburn, but those two are just kind of in a different realm of their own. We witnessed Sauce play against Notre Dame, did pretty well. Other than that, I think just against bigger wide receivers, it might be a little bit of an issue, but he's still super athletic. He still is great on man-to-man and press coverage in that DB position. But, yeah, I mean, I couldn't disagree with you on that. I mean, you could have went with both of them or the other person, and I would have been completely fine with that. So, as of right now, top three picks: Trayvon Walker to the Jaguars, Hutchinson to the Lions, Sauce Gardner to the Texans. And here we are, Jets.
Jets.
I still don't like Zach Wilson there. I don't know why. Didn't see much from him last year. I think what they need, though, if they want to stick with Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson, yes, he is a mobile quarterback, but he was running for his life last year. I think they go offensive line here. And I think they this is where I think Ekem Okongwu will go out of NC State. It was either between him and Evan Neal. I think Okongwu is a better offensive lineman than Neal is right now. They both have great feet work. I've seen Okongwu be able to get up the field as well, shedding blocks, lead blocks on those counter plays and jet sweeps. Very athletic offensive lineman at NC State. The Jets will be taking Okongwu, offensive lineman, from the Wolfpack to help protect Zach this upcoming football season.
I can't at all disagree with that pick, mainly because I was hoping for if in my world right now where I am the general manager of the Giants, I would be hoping and praying that Ikem Okongwu falls into your lap at 5, but you're not incredibly disappointed if Evan Neal is there either. But with the 5th pick, you have to take an offensive lineman because the Panthers are going to try to do the same at 6. You have the pick at 7. I mean, if the Panthers weren't at 6 and another team that was not vying for an offensive lineman was in that position, I think this is where you would take Kyle Hamilton. But since you do have the Panthers there, I do think you end up choosing Evan Neal. Preferably, you would want Ikam Ekwanwu. He's just an absolute brute force. His pivoting, his footwork, he opens up holes like it's nothing. Evan Neal does a lot of the same. And I mean, and God knows you need an offensive line in New York because Saquon's just getting smashed every play, and Daniel Jones not great. But he's suffering behind that offensive line too. You're also losing Kadarius Toney, so that's another guy that Daniel Jones will not have. So you need to buy him as much time as humanly
We
possible
don't
this
know
next
for
year.
a fact if Tony's being dealt yet.
Hey, I'm Kel Miper, okay? I know shit. Okay,
Okay.
and my inside sources are telling me Kadarius Toney will not be a Giant by the start of the season.
And which is crazy. I mean, I think the kid's got a huge upside in the league. Very quick, and I mean, he's very good possessing the football and getting upfield. I mean, he's that type where you can put him on kickoff return or punt returns. He's very explosive, and I've noticed that in the past couple of years, we've seen a lot more of those type of wide receivers or running backs come in the league where they can not just play running back or wide receiver, but Deebo Samuel is probably the best example. I mean, he practically played every position on the offensive side last year. I mean, a complete X factor in any game that he was in. But I mean, like you said, the Giants need offensive line. I'm pretty sure Wayne Gettleman at some point said he needed big hog mollies back there and just decided to never do it. And now he's gone, and this is the chance to do it. You're getting a great quality offensive lineman in Evan Neal, big body. They did pick up Daniel Jones. Or no, I don't think they've decided that yet on his fifth-year option.
No, it's a fifth-year option worth, like, I think it's $24 million, which is $23 million more than he's worth.
Yeah, a lot of people are high on Daniel Jones out of New York, but then there are a lot of people in New York who are not high on him.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing that they need to go for offensive linemen right now, help him out, maybe see how he does with the better offensive line more than anything else. So that goes to our next pick, which is the Carolina Panthers. We saw the owner of the Panthers come out today and say Sam Darnold is their quarterback. Don't know how true that is.
Or why, if it is.
Or why. I mean, I can – listen, it is what it is at this point. I don't even know what the heck is going on in Carolina. I mean, great success in the past with Cam Newton when he was in his prime. Now we're just at a kind of a, all right, well, now what the heck are you guys going to do? So they're sitting here at pick 6. This was a difficult decision. I'm still not 100% on it. If they're really going to stick with Sam Darnold, then I'm going to go against Mel Kiper, not Kel Kiper, Kel Miper, whatever it is you call yourself now for this one. But I think this is where they need to take Kyle Hamilton. Build around a young guy that you already have. J.C. Horn as your defensive backfield. So you have a great corner. Then you bring in Kyle Hamilton, who's got to be by far the most athletic defensive player in the draft. Can pretty much play any position. I still am in awe of the highlights they show all the time when you talk about Kyle Hamilton coming from pretty much the opposite end of the field to intercept the ball in Florida State game 1. That was his second interception of the game, let me remind you, because the first one was pretty much like almost in the exact same area. Kid's super athletic. He can get in the backfield. Reminds me, I'm not saying he resembles his style of play, but just how athletic he is and how he gets in the backfield. I see a lot of Troy Polamalu athleticism just coming from that position from him, just how he gets back there. He is a hard hitter too, so I can see a little bit of an Ed Reed type of intensity from him as well. So there's a great mixture that Kyle Hamilton brings. I think that's what Carolina needs. If you're going to stick with Darnold, then at least work on the defense and at least give Darnold some chances to stay in some games next year. I think that was the issue last year. They really didn't have much of a defense at all. I understand McCaffrey was injury prone. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with an offensive weapon at this position or at this pick. But I think right now with what you have on the board, and if you have Kyle Hamilton still there at 6, you got to take him.
I believe this is another disagreement we have. Not the fact that Kyle Hamilton's an absolute beast, but that the Panthers should take Kyle Hamilton, as you mentioned. They have J.C. Horn, um, and I believe then they have another cornerback on that team that I can't think. Oh, Stephon Gilmore's gone. There's someone else besides Stephon Gilmore, I thought, on that team. Um, and if you're the Panthers, you're thinking if Sam Darnold is our guy, we have to give him every possible goddamn chance to protect himself. We know Christian McCaffrey's injury prone because he keeps getting bopped behind the line every other play. And you really have to contemplate taking a risk on not Christopher Cross, it's a musical artist, Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. It's a bit of a reach, and I'm not, I don't really blame you for choosing Kyle Hamilton, as you said, and we both agree, athletic freak, and him and J.C. Horn on the same defense would be stupid. I think I'd personally take Charles Cross there. You said a mixture of Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed. I believe Kyle Hamilton is Steve Atwater 2.0. Steve Atwater, Broncos legend. Don't know him. Check out some highlights. The dude flattened Christian Okoye like it was nothing. So now we move back to the Giants, rival of my team. So I would love to give them someone I don't like here, and I probably will do that. And Kayvon Thibodeau, the guy who was projected to be the first round draft pick for so long, is going to end up dropping the seventh here, I believe. If in fact Kyle Hamilton does get taken. Sorry, folks. Look, I mentioned earlier the dude has clear commitment issues, and he doesn't show up in prime time the way you would expect a top guy like him to do. I mean, there's plenty of times in late games with Oregon this past 2 years, where it's like, okay, if he's going to make a stop, this is where you need to do it. And then he doesn't. And then the opposing team gets a first down and they go on to cruise down the field and win the game. But he's an athletic freak. He has all the potential there. He has all the tangibilities. Will he push through? I don't know. But just based on athletic freakness, I going to have the Giants take him, and they also need an edge. So,
yeah, I mean, I was probably going to agree with you on this pick with Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, because outside of that, even with your pick, if you chose Charles Cross over Kyle Hamilton and he's still there, I'd probably choose Kyle Hamilton over Kayvon Thibodeau. But just from my perspective, Hamilton's off the board. You take Thibodeau. I honestly would probably say there's a possibility that because the Giants do this every year, they reach on somebody, and the person that has been getting all the buzz about a possible reach is Jermaine Johnson II, the defensive end out of Florida State. This is where I could see the Giants making that pick right there at number 7. I could see that happening. I could honestly see them, just pulling something out of their ass and reaching as far as a Nakobe Dean or a Devin Lloyd, for crying out loud, just because
screw it.
They don't
Arnold
have any
Ebiketie.
linebackers.
Yeah.
I mean, they have no linebackers right now, but I think right now what they need to work on is the defensive side, especially the defensive line. So, yeah, I agree with you on this one. We move on to the 8th pick, which is the Atlanta Falcons. The Matt Ryan era is done.
Marcus Mariota era has begun. Who knows how long that'll last?
Which is interesting because I think with that, it makes this pick a little bit more difficult, I guess, in my opinion, just because a lot of people within the Raiders organization and in that division were saying that Marcus Mariota actually did really well being a backup, honing on his skills and learned actually how to become a quarterback instead of the running quarterback that everyone knew him from Oregon and as a early Titan early on in his career. So with that being said, we have Thibodeau off the board. We have Hamilton off the board. Cross is off the board, I believe, too.
No, Charles Cross is still on the board. We did not.
Charles Cross is still on the board.
That was my hypothetical for the Panthers.
Now, I would not be surprised if this is where we see our first quarterback taken.
I was going to say the same thing.
A Kenny Pickett could be taken here in Atlanta. But I think what they're going to do, honestly, in my opinion, is go for a weapon on the sideline this is where we're going to see either Drake London or we're going to see Jameson Williams get picked here for the Atlanta Falcons. I think one of those two will be picked here. Not a lot of people are talking about Jameson just because of his torn ACL. I understand that. We've had some previous players have torn ACLs right before the draft. But I think Jameson Williams, honestly, he has the body type of a Julio Jones. He's very tall, very physical. Went to Alabama. I mean, why not stay right there in that area? Go play for Marcus Mariota, or maybe they look somewhere in the offseason. Maybe do they find out a way to trade for probably Baker Mayfield to come down to Atlanta? I mean, with all this stuff going on in Cleveland. So my pick right now, I'm going to actually take Jameson Williams, Alabama, at your number 8 pick in the Falcons.
I mean, man, I cannot disagree with a single word you just said. I mean, Jameson Williams is hands down the perfect option for the Falcons. You really don't need an over-the-top possession guy because that's what Kyle Pitts is there for. He is a tight end who also plays wide receiver. He's a guy who you lob it up, and he's tall enough, athletic enough to jump over just about anyone and get the ball. Now you have a guy who can outrun anyone in college football when healthy. I mean, you're making life a hell of a lot easier for Marcus Mariota if you're drafting a wide receiver in this position. Jameson Williams, I like you said, there's question about if he's going to be with the same explosiveness after his injury. So I think personally for me, I would have taken Garrett Wilson, but I'm not going to blame you at all for taking Jameson Williams. Now I move on to the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, they're in, I would have to say, full rebuild mode at this point. They may not admit it, but they are. You got a quarterback who has shown one play every 7 games that he's good. Your defense is falling apart. You have no offensive line, really. And you're sitting there and you're looking for someone who can revive a team and a market. And right now, an offensive lineman, even though that's what you need, cannot do that. You really don't need a wide receiver because you have DK Metcalf. I think you go defensively here, and I think, according to this board, and I think both of our boards, Derrick Stanley falls a little bit here and is picked up by the Seattle Seahawks, making their defense a heck of a lot more formidable.
It's I'm like stumbling on my words right now because it's almost one of those things where it's like we're only at pick 9 right now here in the first round, and Stingley Jr. has fallen already out of projected spots. And what a better way to fall right here in Seattle. Maybe bring back the start of the Legion of Boom again in Seattle on the defensive side. I'm surprised you didn't go with the wide receiver. I know they still have DK Metcalf, but the disgruntledness right now after the Russell Wilson departure, I wouldn't be surprised if they go with a quarterback because right now all you have is Drew Lock. Your quarterback situation is just horrible right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they take a quarterback, but if he's here at number 9, you take Derek Stingley Jr. You take the best guy on the board at this moment, and that's what he is at this moment in time. Moving on to the Jets, who are having another top 10 pick for like the 20th year in a row. It's just ridiculous how this organization has gone to shit. And I know Mike Greenberg from Get Up on ESPN is a huge Jets fan. He is probably, I shouldn't say probably, I know he's had it with this organization. I still like the coaching hire they have. I still like him as a coach. Young guy, there's a lot of fire under him. The Jets took Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss last year. Super quick, not the tallest guy, but I think they go for a weapon who's tall now. And who do we still have on that board? We have Garrett Wilson and Drake London, and I'm taking Drake London right now here at number 10. The New York Jets will be taking Drake London out of USC. Give them some size on the outside because outside of Elijah Moore and I believe Braxton Berrios, I think those guys are both under 6 foot.
And one's white.
And then you have Drake London, who I believe is a 6'4" wide receiver who can just go up and get the ball whenever he wants to. He torched Notre Dame, even though they lost Notre Dame, but he torched Notre Dame's secondary just because he's such a weapon.
Well, yeah, I mean, and if you were to go back and watch a lot of the gameplay from this past year, not only was he explosive over the top, but he is turning bubble screens into gains of 40 and 50 yards. The dude is an athletic freak who finds holes really anywhere. And when a white guy named Braxton Berrios is your second option at wide receiver, you need to pick someone up. That's a desperate need for you. So now we go to Washington, another interconference team that I absolutely despise. They have no offensive firepower. Their defense is electric. Their defensive line and middle linebacker core.
They still have Terry McLaurin.
But I think he wants out. He's doing that contract holdout where it looks like he may not play until he gets a new contract or until he's out of Washington. So now we're sitting here and we're thinking another wide receiver is probably going to go off the board here. I think you have Terry McLaurin. If he stays, then you have two guys to work off of each other in this situation. And you're trying to get Carson Wentz as much help as possible, humanly possible. So I mean, I'm gonna say Garrett Wilson's gonna go off the board here at 11, just to bring a little more offensive firepower to the Washington Commanders. What a shit.
Not even that, but you're gonna have Ohio State alumni all in the wide receivers room.
Yeah,
with McLaurin and Wilson. I think it would be a great pick for Washington, despite everything else that's going on right now within that organization. Which I just feel horrible for some of those young guys, especially. It's just not something that those guys should be dealing with. I mean, there's so much stuff that's happened with that. But anyways, congratulations, Garrett Wilson. You and Terry McLaurin will be a dynamic duo in Washington. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I feel bad for Wentz. I feel like this is a chance for him to kind of solidify that he's not a bust. But at the same time, you are in Washington. You are in the NFC East. The best he could do right now is go 500 with the Commanders.
Yeah.
Where are we at?
We are at number 12 with the Minnesota Vikings.
Ay. I mean, they were the spoiler. They're almost a spoiler of the Packers season. The team wasn't bad at all. I just think they're just missing a few pieces. I know they were injury prone on the defensive side. I think they actually go defense at this pick at number 12. You see the big baby Jordan Davis up there. And I think the Vikings take Jordan Davis here at number 12, going up to Minnesota, bring some pressure to Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields. For how big he is very, very quick. Very quick big man. I think it's a huge pickup for the Vikings. Vikings, Jordan Davis, number 12.
I mean, that's a pick that I can't disagree with. Their defense is questionable at the absolute best, I would say. I'm trying to think of the John Randall. That's what I was thinking of. Vikings legend John Randall. Jordan Davis could go down and be, with just the sheer power that he has, be even if he's even 75% of what John Randall was, that's a successful draft take at number 12. Now we go to the Texans. I'm back with the Texans. As we discussed earlier with the third pick, I had them taking Sauce Gardner to help their defensive out. Defensive. I can't speak right now. I'm losing my mind. I wonder if this is how the GMs feel in the NFL. And you're looking around, and Brandon, you mentioned Jermaine Johnson earlier, a guy who's getting an absolute ton of credit recently for doing, to be honest with you, like a really good defense, but it wasn't defense that won them many games because they sucked. And we're looking at a guy who we have talked about since, was it pick 6 with the Panthers. Charles Cross is still on this list. And we mentioned earlier, we need to get Dougie Mills some help so he's not scrambling around like crazy. We got to keep him healthy. allow him to get the ball out of his hands and into some hopefully open wide receivers. So we would be taking Charles Cross at the offensive line position, hopefully preventing the absolutely insane stuff that happened with David Carr when he was with the Texans in the early 2000s and those insane sack records that he sadly has to walk around with.
I'm actually a little bit surprised because I actually had Charles Cross, in my opinion, going to the Ravens. Ravens just lost Alejandro Villanueva for retirement, so they will need an offensive tackle. That's what Cross is there for. Help out Lamar Jackson some more. I get it. Lamar Jackson is one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league right now. But you bring in someone like Charles Cross, who's not a bad guy. He was an offensive lineman in the SEC. A lot of potential for the young kid. I actually had him at 14 going to the Ravens. But I understand what you mean. Listen, I told you guys from the get-go, I'm a huge fan of Davis Mills out of Stanford. I think the kid is going to be a big name. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like his breakout year because he was actually really good last year, had some crazy games of over 350 yards and like no interceptions and threw 4 touchdowns. So I like your pick of Charles Cross. And just like I mentioned, the 14th pick will be the Baltimore Ravens, heading into Lamar Jackson's final year of his rookie deal as well. In Baltimore, it's crazy to think about that. And like I said, they did lose Alejandro Villanueva. They also lost Calais Campbell to retirement, which I would now see this spot going to Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State. I think they bring him in defensive side. Baltimore is known for their defense. I've seen some of Johnson's highlights. He is very physical. He is very quick off the edge. And I think for that division, especially whoever Cleveland has, and even with Joe Burrow's mobility, you can at least slow down Joe Burrow in the backfield and everything else. So I'm going to go with Jermaine Johnson, the second out of Florida State for the Baltimore Ravens. I know you're about to be excited because the Philadelphia Eagles are your pick at number 15. I've got my own take on who they should take, but I know you are loving this moment right now. You are on the clock. Nick Sirianni.
I am on the clock. Look, Nick Sirianni surprised the hell out of me, at least on the first year. Everyone keeps ragging on him because he's kind of a weird, quirky dude, but hell, he won some goddamn games and he got us to the playoffs. Did we get smoked by the Buccaneers? Absolutely, we did. But I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, when you look at the team directly behind us in the Saints, they're going for wide receiver. They are. So, I mean, we're going to have to jump up maybe a little higher than we would like to grab a wide receiver at this position. You're looking at Chris Olave, who's sitting at 22nd, or Treylon Burks at 28, or my Penn State boy, Jahan Dotson, at 33. Personally, I don't want to see Jahan Dotson fall in Philadelphia. So I'm down to Treylon Burks. I'm down to Chris Olave. Now, Chris Olave had some bonkers games for Ohio State. His ability just to find space in the defense and get open is wild, and he breaks off plays. So having him on the other side would be fantastic. And Treylon Burks, I want to say he's more of a one-year wonder. He had one insanely good season with Arkansas. And said it was insanely good, so I wouldn't hate drafting him either. But I would like to go with a more proven commodity in Chris Olave at this position. Last time the Eagles took a wide receiver who was not as polished as a Power 5 wide receiver in Justin Jefferson. We took Jalen Reagor, and we're regretting that to this day. It's pretty bad. Brandon,
well, Kellen, you
with the Saints.
You got your weapon in Philly. I think Chris Olave would be a great pick if he's still there for you. I think he will be. Gives Jalen Hurts more targets to throw to. And here we are. Pick number 16, New Orleans Saints. This is where I think we see our first quarterback taken. I'm going to say Kenny Pickett gets taken here with New Orleans Saints. Jameis Winston is a free agent. Don't think he'll be going back to New Orleans. You have Ian Book, and I believe you still have Taysom Hill. I think Kenny Pickett would be great in New Orleans. I think, yes, he might be battling the spot. I mean, Ian Book, we're in South Bend, former Irish quarterback. did not do well in his first start last year. I believe it was Sunday night or Monday Night Football.
Monday.
Got rocked around, played a tough team. Yes, Saints will be taking Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh, our first quarterback taken off the board for a first round tonight.
I am wildly surprised at this selection, Brandon. Not because they need a quarterback, that's no doubt, but they have so much money secured in their quarterbacks that it's pretty. Oh gosh, it's weird because they're paying Taysom Hill $40 million, and odds are he'll be a tight end for most of that contract if Kenny Pickett pans out to be anything moderately okay. I think I would have preferred to see maybe a cornerback or that defensive lineman because their defensive line is just getting old. Their
But they're not
defense
going to
is
stay
old.
with Taysom Hill. They need a young quarterback right now.
Okay, but I mean, look, you're gonna be paying a guy $40 million to sit around and do nothing. I'm just not sure that's a good use of your money. You have to at least try to play it out for as long as you possibly can. That's my opinion. We're not the same person, so we're gonna disagree. It's just what happens. You look at the Chargers now. Look, their defense is solid. They got J.C. Jackson at cornerback. You have an aging wide receiver in Keenan Allen who's not playing as well as you would have liked him to. Our boy, Drew Tranquil, is on the Chargers as well. Made an all-pro. All-pro for special teams, I believe. And then you have the quarterback in Justin Herbert, who was an absolute stud. Only issue is frequently he's running around like a goddamn chicken with his head cut off. So now we got to look at an offensive line player, preferably at this position, just to try to see if you can secure him a little bit more. And I hear a lot of talks about Trevor Penning, the Northern Iowa prospect. It's a bit of a it's a bit of a unproven commodity in my opinion, and I really think it should be either Bernhard Raymond or Daniel Falele. I think Daniel Falele is the best offensive lineman left on the board right now. So I think they should take Daniel Falele. I do, because the dude is an absolute hoss, and what he did at Minnesota. If you look at it, the game on the horseshoe when Minnesota ran all over Ohio State, he was a big part in their success there. So I think he's going to be a very underrated offensive lineman in this draft, and I think the Chargers should and will draft him.
You're reaching right now. I mean, I think this is our first far reach in the draft here, especially for the Chargers. Going for not so much of a top offensive tackle in the draft, but a need that the Chargers do need. So Daniel Falele or Falele, whatever it is. And I've got your Eagles up as they have an overabundance of picks in this year's draft. I mean, it's just absurd. I just want to point out, yes, we do not have Alec on right now. He wanted to touch on a few things about the first round. The Bears and the Colts, no first-round picks. For teams.
They need them.
Exactly, especially the Bears.
Need them.
I think the Colts' defensive side is fantastic with the addition of Stephon Gilmore. I think what they need is a little bit more on the offensive side. I believe T.Y. Hilton is gone. They just got rid of, or he just signed somewhere else. I can't think of his name.
Zach Pascal, wide receiver, is now an Eagle.
Yep. Zach Pascal is now an Eagle. So here we are, 18th pick, Philadelphia Eagles on the board. Your guys' first pick of this year's draft was Chris Olave out of Ohio State. Kellen, you guys are going to go defense here. You guys need an inside linebacker. This is where you guys take Nakobe Dean out of Georgia.
Love it.
Probably one of the best inside linebackers in this draft. I mean, he's an absolute monster in that backfield on the defensive side. I mean, can pretty much play every single position on the defensive line and every single linebacker position. Can run end to end, can run sideline to sideline, very physical, can get to the quarterback. I think that'd be a great young, vicious pick for the Eagles for that defense to step up. You guys will need it. I do think the Eagles will win the division this upcoming year. I think Nakobe Dean will be in talks for Rookie of the Year, just as with Micah Parsons with the Cowboys last year. Eagles get a home run pick and probably the steal of the draft, Nakobe Dean at 18.
I love it, B. I really do. We've suffered with Alex Singleton being our best linebacker for the past 2-3 years. So getting Nakobe Dean would be revolutionary on that end. And I really hope, just me being an Eagles fan, he reminds me a little bit of Takeo Spikes. It'd be fun to see a guy at that caliber playing on the linebacker position again and having hopefully a healthy Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox pair alongside
Fletcher
with
Cox,
him.
you guys have released.
No, we brought him back.
I swear you released him.
Brandon, we've discussed this before. We released him, then we brought him back on a cheaper contract. Don't question my Eagles knowledge.
Well,
we have Darius Slay. Our safeties are still dog shit. Now we'll move on to the Saints. Brandon, you picked Kenny Pickett at the quarterback position. So to pair alongside him, we're trying to bring in a youthful offense, one that'll be explosive, hopefully. Michael Thomas is still a Saint, no?
As of right now.
He is still a Saint, and we're projecting, I am, that he will continue to be a Saint, hopefully a healthy one. So pairing him alongside Treylon Burks out of Arkansas would make a deadly, moderately young offensive system to build on in the future if they do indeed pick Kenny Pickett with that 16th pick, I believe it was.
I mean, even if they don't take Kenny Pickett in that first pick they have, and they do take a wide receiver, if Kenny Pickett's still there at 19, you might as well take him. He's the first quarterback. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. Everyone's going to say small hands. I don't care about this small hand crap, dude. Joe Burrow had small hands and went to the freaking Super Bowl, man. I mean, come on. Kenny Pickett can run the football, tall kid, has a cannon for an arm. I think it would be fantastic if they can somehow keep Michael Thomas. I think he'd be a great influence on Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks, what is he, 6'6"? He a 6'6" wide receiver?
He might be 6'6". I thought maybe 6'5"-ish. I could be wrong, though.
Actually, I have his information right here. I should have known this off the top of my head because I'm pretty sure he's only 6'2", but he's 225 pounds. He's just a big body, which I think would be fantastic to kind of counteract what Michael Thomas is, who's very elusive, and a taller wide receiver who can get the ball. I like the pick. I really do. I think it's fantastic if you can team him up with Pickett. Give Pickett some weapons once he gets here. He already has Alvin Kamara, and we talked about it earlier today about kind of this resurgence. I shouldn't say resurgence, but kind of a breakout year for Tony Jones Jr., the rookie from a couple years ago out of Notre Dame, backup running back. And I'm happy because, listen, you got your Eagles pick. I've got my Steelers pick here at 20, and you already know I've been talking about it ever since it was confirmed. Mike Tomlin has pretty much made this kid his stepson. I'm going to say it right now. The Steelers are welcoming Malik Willis out of Liberty University. He's going to be fantastic in Pittsburgh. I think not just a player, but just a person in general. There was that viral video of him giving a homeless person some of his stuff out of his bag when he was there for the combine. Smart kid, very athletic. I think this pick is probably the most pitch perfect pick in the draft for a prospect and a team. Congratulations, Steelers. You're bringing in Malik Willis.
And now you're taking a look at the Patriots, which surprisingly, defense was the thing they weren't the best at this year. But even then, I don't think they're going to go defense. I think they're going to go with a guy that Alec has been talking up since college football season. A guy Alec has loved from his own Iowa Hawkeyes, making his way into the Bill Belichick system. Dude should be an absolute juggernaut for New England. I'm going to go Tyler Linderbaum to the New England Patriots.
I mean, if Alec was here, he'd probably go nuts right now that either A, Linderbaum has fallen too much, or he's going to a very successful franchise. One or the other, I think it'll be a great pick. I don't even know anyone on their offensive line right now. But you can't go wrong with the best offensive line in the country.
Yeah.
The Remington Award. I think that's a fantastic pickup for the Patriots. Very well established. He's like your veteran college player. Very smart. It goes very well with Bill Belichick, and especially Josh McDaniels is not there. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Either way, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting excited because I think a lot of stuff's going to happen here later on in the first round. That is going to just shake up a lot of stuff. So we have Green Bay here at 22. You have lost Davante Adams. And everyone was thinking that was the main reason why Aaron Rodgers stayed in Green Bay, thinking that Davante Adams was going to be it. And I believe I talked to you before, Jameis Williams. I was saying, if he's there, then this is a straight shot for the Packers. You take Jameson Williams. I think I might have some breaking news for you. There has been a trade in the first round.
Whoa!
The Tennessee Titans are trading A.J. Brown to the Packers for the 22nd overall pick. Now the Titans are up on the board, and they will be taking none other than Jahan Dotson out of Penn State going down to Tennessee. A.J. Brown has become slowly unhappy in Tennessee in regards to contract work. And why not give him to a quarterback who actually knows what he's doing and actually has a lot of playoff experience other than Aaron? I mean, you also lost Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You bring in A.J. Brown, very physical. I mean, he's not as tall as Adams or as Scantling, but he plays like it. I think this is where I think from picks 20 to 32 in the first round, we will see trades like crazy happen, whether it's just picks that are being traded, whether it's players. I think this is our first time seeing a player being traded. I think it would be best for both teams. The Titans get Jahan Dotson, a speedster out of Penn State, a lot like KJ Hamler in the kick return game. The guy can go up and get the ball. He had some unbelievable catches for Penn State last year. One-hand catches that was like it was nothing. Went off for 3 touchdowns against Ohio State in probably the biggest game of the year at night in Happy Valley at Penn State University. Tennessee's bringing home Jahan Dotson, Penn State, after trading away A.J. Brown.
Well, and you think with that move, the Titans are going in some weird direction. I don't know what direction you have them going in, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it no matter what, because Jahan Dotson's a first-round draft pick, and that's the second year in a row. Penn State's had his first-round draft pick last year. Micah Parsons, obviously, defensive rookie of the year. And now we have Jahan Dotson going to the Titans for A.J. Brown. Like you mentioned, the dude's quick as hell, but he's like lengthy. He can jump over half of just about anyone, and he's a security blanket for Ryan Tannehill, who has some very questionable decisions in the pocket sometimes. And now we move to the Arizona Cardinals. My friend Teo is a big Cardinals fan. He's been complaining all freaking off season. Oh, this person's leaving. Chandler Jones is gone. Oh no, Kyler Murray might be leaving. Isaiah Simmons is not a proven guy. I can't trust him. So based on all the stuff that he constantly tells me about, I'm looking at linebacker and I'm looking at edge, right? So you're looking at like a George Karlaftis from Purdue, who's an absolute beast of a player. Or you're looking at David Ojabo out of Michigan, who, he might be a little underrated because the player working out on the other side of him was Aiden Hutchinson, and a lot of people credit Ojabo's success to Hutchins. Hutchinson's success. And then you go look at linebacker, look at Utah's Devin Lloyd, who is, goddamn, is that dude good? He's an athletic freak at linebacker who, if you need to, you can throw at edge. I'm going to go David Ojabo. It's a bit of a stretch, but I see this dude having an absolutely insane career, and he could be a fantastic replacement for Chandler Jones, who, is a big loss for them because he was probably the best player on that defensive side. He had the one game where he had like 5 sacks. So I think David Ojabo is going to jump Boye Mafe and George Karlaftis, all Big Ten guys. I don't see the hype in the first two, but I think David Ojabo is an absolute stud.
I see that pick making sense just because it's one of the needs that Arizona needs. And to think that you might be teaming up Ojabo and Isaiah Simmons is just ridiculous. Isaiah Simmons had probably a great second year from being a rookie. Had a very shaky first year. I think that would be fantastic. I'm surprised you didn't go with I shouldn't say I'm surprised. It's your pick. If it were me, I would see Trent McDuffie out of Washington, defensive back, being taken here. That's what they need the most. They did lose Patrick Peterson going back to Minnesota just for like a year contract or whatever it is. I don't know. I forgot what that whole ordeal is. They really didn't have much of defensive back depth. I know they had that kid out of I can't think of his name. It was like Byron something, because he was just drafted a couple years ago too. I think he was from Washington. I would have liked to have seen McDuffie go here just to help, especially with the division that they're in with the Rams and the Hawks. Still a lot of weapons. I think a defensive back would have worked well here for them, but you can't go wrong. David Ojabo, just like you said, amazing talent out of Michigan, had a great year next to Hutchinson. So wouldn't be a bad idea at all. It'll be interesting to see how he does in that system as well and how they run their defense. So after the Arizona's pick at 23, the good old freaking Dallas Cowboys here at 24 probably had the best pick in the draft last year with Micah Parsons. That kid is an absolute just freaking stud. Doesn't know a damn thing when it comes to hockey, because the other night he just decided to just throw the puck down before anyone was out there. So good job, Micah, for representing the state of Pennsylvania. Let me say, those Hershey hockey jerseys were pretty freaking awesome. I need to get one myself. God, I don't even know. Like, it doesn't even matter. I mean, they could probably choose the best person in the draft and they still won't have a successful season, or they'll go to the playoffs and then nothing happens. Yeah, sorry about the noise in the back. It's kind of gross. So the needs that they need for the Cowboys: offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, inside linebacker. I mean, you lost. Who'd they lose? It wasn't Gallup.
It was Gregory.
No. Like from the wide receiver position. I swear they lost someone from the wide
Amari
receiver
Cooper
position. Yes, Amari Cooper is gone. I would not be surprised if they go wide receiver route here. This is where that name of that Christian Watson comes in at North Dakota State, who's kind of come out of nowhere. I think I'm about to be probably shat on for this. I think they do go wide receiver. And I think they go for a reach just because it's the Cowboys. Cowboys are selecting John Mechie III out of Alabama for Dallas. A surprising pick. I believe he was a mid-late second-round pick, bumping all the way to late first round. I just think from a talent standpoint, he does beat out Watson and Sky Moore out of Western Michigan and North Dakota State. John Mechie is an absolute weapon. He's just super athletic. I think after losing Amari Cooper, you still have Michael Gallup, who's a speedster. You still have Cedric Wilson. And then you add another athleticism guy like John Mechie, who can kick and do punt returns for you. I think it'd be a great weapon for Dallas, especially in a big environment like that. Coming from Alabama, going to Dallas, Mechie's a Cowboy.
All right. I mean, I'm not going to hate it because it's the Cowboys, and if he ends up failing, then I'm happy. So I can't really disagree with you because it seems like a very Cowboys move. They're all about pizzazz and speed. So why not, right? Now I move on to the Buffalo Bills, and you look at the team needs, and you see cornerback, and you think that's definitely a strong need for them, but they have Tre'Davious White who can lock down almost an entire side, and I think they'd be fine with not having to draft Tre'Davious White right now, like a wide receiver. And you really think, is that really a team need? At least I do. You have Stephon Diggs, and then you have the one guy, I can't remember his name, who absolutely went off against the Chiefs in that one game. I think he had
Gabriel Davis.
Gabriel Davis had like 4 touchdowns. Managed to get wide open all the time, whether that was defensive miscues or him just being a great wide receiver or at least a good one. And then I go to running back. And I think that's one thing that people had complained about all year. The one when they lost to the Patriots in that super windy game, we discussed because they have no running game. Their running game was Josh Allen whenever he felt like it. So then you go to the running backs, and you really have 2 options, in my opinion. You have Breece Hall and/or Kenneth Walker III. And I sit here and to include Alec as much as possible in these videos, I try to think of stuff that he has previously mentioned through episodes, like when I brought up the Linderbaum. Alec talked him up all the time, and he wasn't lying. And discussing running backs, specifically Kenneth Walker with Alec, he kept saying that what was he doing that was better than Breece Hall? Answer is not really a whole lot. The fact that his team was just winning because their defense was a hell of a lot better. I think Breece Hall is faster, smarter, finds holes better, has great vision, and is a hell of a lot stronger. And I think he'd be just an absolutely bonkers addition for this Buffalo Bills team. So I think Breece Hall goes 25th and joins the Bills Mafia.
Breece Hall. I mean, that's interesting. It's very interesting.
Interesting. I think it's actually going to happen, like, legitimately, though. That's not just out of my ass. I think that might actually happen.
This is just for your pick at the Bills. If this was my pick, I actually was predicting a trade down from the Bills. You said they need a running back, right?
Uh-huh.
They will trade their 25th pick to the Lions at 32 for DeAndre Swift. The Lions now trade up in the draft in the top 25 to get a backup quarterback, none other than Desmond Ritter, going to Detroit at 25.
What?
You heard it here.
I am wildly perplexed by this.
It doesn't matter
by this trade because one, I think Breece
not
Hall.
My pick.
I know.
It's
I'm
not
just
my
saying.
pick.
I think Breece Hall's a better running back than DeAndre Swift is. DeAndre Swift's not going to get a whole hell of a lot better.
Breece Hall will still be there at 25. I promise you that.
But you're saying the Bills will trade down.
They will trade down. They bring in DeAndre Swift, but then I bet you they get rid of Devin Singletary in the offseason. Like during
but I'm not sure you're
market.
understanding. In your scenario, I don't see. I just couldn't contemplate why they would trade that pick when they can have a better running back in Breece Hall over.
I think DeAndre Swift is a great running back, fantastic running back.
I think his hands would tell you differently. I think Detroit Lions fans
Well,
would tell you differently.
It is what it is. But that's what I'm saying. Create some controversy here in the first round. Look what it made you do.
You
Made you
are
about fell out of your
creating
seat.
some gosh darn controversy because what the hell? You're on the clock with the 26th pick, by the way. And I don't know if you're trying to blow my mind to make me angry or you're just genuinely thinking this stuff.
Well, as I 100% predicted earlier, the Titans will be trading A.J. Brown to the Packers.
And then they will be taking Jahan Dotson. Yes, this is.
And they took Jahan Dotson as a replacement. Fantastic replacement indeed. I think he'll have a more successful career, honestly, than KJ Hamler. That's just personal preference. I just think he will, just from a wide receiver's position, because I see KJ Hamler more of your Devin Hester type of player. That's what I see from Hamler.
Can't disagree with that.
I'm sorry? What did you just say?
I said I cannot disagree with that at all. He's not the best wide receiver, but dude's got some hella crazy speed.
Understood. So, who can you scroll down that board for me so I can know exactly who we have taken? Just go a couple down. Keep going. Keep it going. Just want to make sure. All right. This pick, no brainer. I just had to look and see if we haven't picked him yet. This is going to be the Trent McDuffie pick out of Washington. They need defensive backs. You just picked up a weapon. You still have weapons. I know Julio Jones is
gone,
coming, but you still have young weapons that were pretty successful behind those two when they were injured. The tight end, what, Berkser?
All right. This is easily another safety deposit guy, which is what Tannehill needs.
I just think Trent McDuffie works well here. They did have Malcolm Butler out of New England. Malcolm Butler is now going back to New England. He was picked up this offseason. Trent McDuffie gets taken on the board probably a little further than what people expected, but I think they get a steal here. Cornerback from Washington, Trent McDuffie, number 26, Tennessee Titans.
All right, now we're back with the team that continues to ruin everyone's hopes and dreams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who brought back Tom Brady after he retired. Their team is still absolutely loaded. They still got Mike Evans. Chris Godwin, he came back, didn't he? Did he make his way back? I thought he re-signed. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I wish I knew all this stuff right now, but I just don't right now.
Okay. I believe Antoine Winfield Jr. is still on the team. Vita Vea is still on the squad. Their defense is loaded, which it's making me contemplate drafting a wide receiver at this position because you got guys like Sky Moore, Christian Watson, and George Pickens. And hell, David Bell. I mean, he's a great wide receiver. This is a loaded wide receiver class. And I got Wan'Dale Robinson at 89th. It's just wild. Which is why I'm thinking they can hold off on wide receiver for just a little bit longer and go to that offensive line position just to kind of beef it up because, they dealt with a hell of a lot of injuries, and that was one of the main reasons they kind of faltered in the playoffs because, I forgot Tristan Wirfs got injured. It was a whole mess with the offensive line. So you're looking at a Boston College guy like Zion Johnson or Texas A&M with Kenyon Green. I think it's got to be one of those two guys. And if you're looking at if you're at the 27th spot and you have a guy who's projected ranked is 15th, I think you got to go with Zion Johnson out of Boston College.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they go offensive line here. They did lose I can't think of his name. They lost him to the Bengals. It makes perfect sense. Protect Tom Brady for one more year or however many freaking years this guy wants to play football. But let me just toss a name out there that I think might be in the circulations here at this pick. Just because we don't know if he's coming back or not. Trey McBride, tight end out of Colorado State. We don't know if Gronkowski's coming back.
That's a very good point.
O.J. Howard is starting to become a little bit more injury prone than everyone thought. and everyone has been super high on Trey McBride. Oh, super high on Trey McBride. Look at that. I would not be surprised to see him go here either, just because of a weapon that Tom Brady needs. But at the same time, Tom Brady's pushing freaking 100 years old, so he'll need an offensive lineman. Great pick out of Boston College, Zion Johnson. Here we are, Green Bay. We are back. What are we going to do? I don't know, because you gave up Devontae Adams, and you guys have no reason to be successful anymore.
They gave Devontae Adams, but remember in this scenario that you have, they brought in A.J. Brown.
Yes, with my scenario, they do have A.J. Brown. They do. But at the same time, can you ever go wrong with enough wide receivers in the first round?
Well, they need
your
them.
Team?
Well, they need them, but also you got to think there's so many. Do they have to get them in the first round?
It's just very tough, just because I can see them going so many different ways with this pick after their first pick has been selected. I could see them grouping this pick and trading out of this spot for another team. I could see another team coming in from a second round. I could see, maybe the Colts kind of grouping something together to at least get something in the first round to help out the offensive side at wide receiver position. But I'm going to go George Karlaftis here. Green Bay will take him. They need a defensive end. I was back and forth because, yes, you do have Robert Tonyan. He had a scary injury last year. I could see McBride go here, or even Jelani Woods, the big tight end out of Virginia, go at this spot as well, just as a tight end, just because they need another weapon to at least help with blocking. And Jelani Woods was probably one of the best blocking tight ends this year in college football. But I'm going to go with George Karlaftis. I think as of right now, he's your best talent on the defensive side in this draft, and that's what they need in Green Bay. George Karlaftis gets picked here. Green Bay, bringing home the Boilermaker boy.
I think that's a good pickup. I think if I'm there and you're getting criticized and Aaron Rodgers is not happy with the way you draft, particularly just you're not drafting of offensive line, or not offensive line, just offensive players, I think they take Trey McBride. In this scenario, if they do end up trading for A.J. Brown, I think you bring in a Trey McBride. I forget who their other tight end is right now.
Who's other tight end? Green Bay.
Yeah, don't they have
solid? It was Mercedes Lewis or whatever. It was some older guy.
Some older guy. I thought it was a white dude.
Robert Tonyan is the white guy.
Where's he at?
Green Bay.
Well, then fucking scratch everything I said. Okay, never mind. I like Robert Tonyan. No need for another tight end. George Karlaftis is a fine pick, maybe a receiver. I don't know. So now we're getting to Kansas City. We got back-to-back picks for Kansas City heading into 29 and 30.
Let me just say something real quick, because on top of Chicago not having a pick in this draft, all the turmoil that's going on in Cleveland right now, and they don't even have a first-round draft pick, and you would think that you would probably figure out a quarterback situation. I would not. I mean, honestly, I would not be shocked to see them dish off some high names to get a pick in this first round to get a quarterback. I could see like a Jarvis Landry be a part of some trade package to get a top 20 pick to get a quarterback in Cleveland, and just to kind of throw out some teams that I feel like would need a Jarvis Landry, like we talked about it. I could see Cleveland trading Landry for that Green Bay 22 pick for that quarterback position, just because instead of A.J. Brown, they bring in Jarvis Landry. I feel like would be a great pick or a great trade for the Packers. I'm just saying, just from not seeing Cleveland in this, just to get themselves in to get a quarterback to kind of handle this Baker Mayfield situation. I think that's their best avenue to go.
So you're saying the Browns are going to do a re-sign and trade with Jarvis Landry then?
I would see that's going to happen this offseason. Like, they'll sign him, but he's gone once they sign him, because they need to find a way to get a quarterback. And honestly, your best option right now is Jameis Winston in the free agent market.
All righty. Once again, your mind is thinking like 25 steps ahead, and I'm loving it, but I'm also beautifully confused by it.
You're welcome.
So now we're sitting here, Kansas City Chiefs. You're thinking you got to get Patrick Mahomes some freaking weapons. You got Juju, which is good. You got Travis Kelce, which is awesome. But you need more.
Bless you.
That's not how I normally speak to people. That was for comedic effect. So you go to the wide receivers here, and you're thinking, you got a guy who can be an absolutely solid replacement for Tyreek Hill and Sky Moore, the Western Michigan speed demon. I think, even though I could see them passing up on him and waiting to get him in the second round, maybe hoping that he falls, I think Sky Moore goes 29th to the Kansas City Chiefs.
God, I wish Alec was on right now so we could hear these picks. I mean, I feel like he'd be turning over on this podcast right now, just giving us so much shit because he knows the Chiefs like the back of his hand. They had probably the most unsuspecting success come from the backfield when Clyde Edwards-Helaire went down. I can't remember his name.
Whose last name? Gore, war number 41.
No, the other guy, the speedster.
Miss McKissick? Yeah,
J.D. McKissick. No, it wasn't J.D. McKissick.
Who the hell are you talking about?
Oh, God, God will kill me right now if I did not know. Hold on. I got to look this up. Just bear with me, folks.
Ronald Jones, Michael Burton, Brendan Knox,
Derrick
I
forgot
Gore.
They did get Ronald Jones this year. Well, that kind of changes up a lot of hump. I can't even think of his name. Maybe it was McKissick. But yes, they do have Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ronald Jones, which I think was a huge pickup, by the way, to help out. I think Ronald Jones is a great talent out of USC, going to Kansas City. Back-to-back picks here. I mean, good God. So, with this pick, because everyone's been talking about him, and we don't know what's going on with Tyrann Mathieu, Lewis Cine out of Georgia, safety position, gets picked here for Kansas City. Young, talented, very aggressive safety out of Georgia. Played fantastic in the playoffs and late in the season in the SEC championship game. I think this is a huge pickup. At least gives them some sort of peace of mind that they at least have that position covered with a great guy like Lewis Cine. Love this pick for the Chiefs. Congratulations.
Any particular reason you have him over Daxton Hill?
I think Lewis Cine, and I believe you were even saying it yourself just from watching him play. Lewis Cine was like rarely ever talked about in some of these big games and some of the stuff he did on the field. That dude is everywhere on the field. I like Daxton Hill. I just don't think right here is where he goes. I still think Cine's better than Hill all day long.
Awesome. So now we're going to the Super Bowl losers. Your Cincinnati Bengals team still hasn't won Super Bowl yet, but they're damn close if they can just draft well, and maybe bring in another high quality free agent within the next 2 off seasons. I think they can win a Super Bowl. They're damn close. When you're looking at safety, you're looking at cornerback. We could see a double safety getting taken here. Could see Daxton Hill get picked up right now. Or Brandon, a guy you mentioned way early on out of Florida, Khair Alam. It's really a toss-up right now, but I'm thinking you're trying to get the biggest bang for your buck right now. And you know it's got to be a defensive pick, and I think you're going to have to go with Jaquan Brisker. I'm joking. No. As much as I would love to say that, no, it's going to be Daxton Hill. He's the better player. Jaquan Brisker is going to be a sleeper in the second round. As I tweeted out, I think Jaquan Brisker and Arnold Ebiketie, 2 Penn State guys. Sure, I'm biased, but I think they'll both be fantastic second-day pickups. Daxton Hill, you're awesome-ish, I guess. You're a really good safety, but I don't think you're going to be anything too special.
Well, Kellen, for our first ever mock draft spectacular on the podcast, we are now at the final pick of the draft. The Detroit Lions, MCDC, Motor City, Dan Campbell and the boys had some crazy wins last year that no one was expecting. I thought the team was kind of hitting their stride. very, very, very late into the season.
Incredibly late in the season.
I'm about to blow your mind.
You've done it 4 times already.
So I'm sitting here. I'm Lions GM. Had an awful season. I think Jared Goff just said, you know what? Let's just win some games at the end. You guys are probably paying all my money because I was making so much with the Rams, and now you guys have to pay it. He really doesn't care. He's in there. I even offered the idea of them getting rid of DeAndre Swift to Buffalo.
Shitty idea.
But I'm sitting here and I'm like, listen, we're losing out on Jamal Williams, who they picked up from Green Bay last year. DeAndre Swift, like you said, has a very, very hard time catching the ball out of the outfield. But when he runs the ball and he runs with effectiveness, he could be very, very good. Very good. Wide receivers, I mean, they could probably reach for a draft pick here at 32. I mean, at this point, you're going to have a George Pickens available. Next Megatron in Detroit, George Pickens.
Why
You
not?
could have Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati, the big kid. Very successful in Cincinnati. The Detroit Lions will be taking a quarterback at the last pick of the first
Are you
round.
shitting me?
Desmond Ritter.
Oh, my Lord.
Desmond Ritter will be getting picked at 32 because it was either between him or Sam Howell. The reason why I say Sam Howell, because for some reason everyone's still high on him just from a social media or just from a media standpoint. I just felt like, okay, well, if a quarterback gets taken at the very end of the draft, it's either going to be Howell or it's going to be Matt Corral. I think Desmond Ritter gets picked here at 32. I honestly think there's going to be some sort of off-season movement where Goff is moved this off-season and they bring Ritter in. So Desmond Ritter, you will be the starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions game 1 next year.
I think I disagree with that. I think just because the leadership role that Jared Goff brings will buy him at least another year. And I think the Lions are going to look to snag a wide receiver, actually, at that position, whether that be George Pickens or homeboy from South Dakota State or there's just a lot of guys they could choose from at that 32 spot, but I'm not going to really disagree with that too much. I mean, not like Jared Goff has blown off anyone's socks, which is a term that we've used a lot in reference to the NFL. So Brady, we're going to do another quick rundown on what our final first round mock draft is for April 27th, 2022. Are you ready?
I am.
Jacksonville Jaguars with the first pick take Trayvon Walker. You disagree with that one a little bit. You think it should be Aiden Hutchinson. The Detroit Lions take Aiden Hutchinson, actually. Small arm boy. Houston Texans take Ahmad Sauce Gardner, cornerback, Cincinnati. New York Jets find their offensive lineman of the future in Ikem Ekwonu out of North Carolina State. The Giants, in hopes to recover an offensive lineman from not gaining Ikem Ekwonu, will take Evan Neal, powerhouse out of Alabama. The Panthers take safety Kyle Hamilton. Bit of a surprise there, Brandon's choice. But dude's an athletic freak, and I just don't hate this choice there. New York Giants are once again trying to play catch up with their pick, taking Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon. Little questionable on his desire to play. The Falcons try to beef up their offense, taking Jameson Williams, our receiver out of Alabama. Questionable how healthy he's going to be, or if he'll be as explosive after the injury. Seattle Seahawks take Derrick Stanley Jr., solid cornerback, falling a little further down the draft board than most would suspect, going to Seattle. Maybe not the best choice for them right now, because they need offense, but not hating it either. The Jets take Drake London, wide receiver, to get Braxton Berrios the hell out of there, because you don't want a white guy named Braxton being your second option at wide receiver. The Washington, as this thing says on here, take Garrett Wilson, wide receiver at Ohio State, take him back-to-back wide receivers. Just trying to pair him up with Terry McLaurin there to get an Ohio State wide receiver room, along with Carson Wentz, giving him some hope for being good. Jordan Davis, defensive line out of Georgia, going to the Vikings, hopefully trying to be the next John Randall. Houston Texans get their second draft pick of the first round, taking Charles Cross, offensive lineman, hopefully trying to get Dougie Mills some support. Baltimore Ravens take Jermaine Johnson, edge out of Florida State. Another Brandon pick right there, Brandon. also said that he's been propped up pretty high. Brandon, you're a little suspicious, but you're still giving him enough credit to get in that top 15. The Eagles, with my Eagles choice, get Chris Olave, wide receiver at Ohio State, trying to get some pressure off of Devontae Smith. The Saints take Kenny Pickett, another surprising Brandon move. I think this was the first one that was really like, holy crap. Just getting there, trying to build their offense for the future, even though they're paying Taysom Hill $40 million. The Chargers take Daniel Falele, a bit of a jump there on the offensive line. They need one. So it's in terms of quality, it might be a jump, but it's what they need. The Eagles taking Nakobe Dean. This is Brandon's Eagles pick, linebacker out of Georgia. I'm loving it. As an Eagles fan, it's perfect. I would die to see that happen. The Saints take Traylon Burks, once again, their addition to add on with Kenny Pickett, trying to make that offense a powerhouse for the future. And Brandon, very happy with the Pittsburgh Steelers pick of Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty. They have no quarterback right now besides Mitch Trubisky, and hopefully Malik could get that job. He's been praised all offseason by your boy, your head coach, Mike Tomlin. New England Patriots take Tyler Linderbaum, inside offensive lineman from Iowa, guy Alec's been talking about for a long time, mainly because he's an Iowa guy, so he knows a lot about that more than me and Brandon do. Green Bay Packers technically trade in this scenario for A.J. Brown. The Titans will take the 22nd pick and draft Jahan Dotson, wide receiver out of Penn State. I think it's a great replacement. Very young, very fast, and a real ball getter. The Cardinals take David Ajabo, edge out of Michigan, another jump by me in terms of drafting, but I think it's a need that they need to replace Chandler Jones after he left for Las Vegas. Dallas Cowboys take the most Dallas Cowboys player probably available at this point, John Mechie, speedy wide receiver out of Alabama. The Buffalo Bills beef up the running backfield with Breece Hall from Iowa State, a guy that Alec loves as well. Tennessee Titans, after their trade with the Packers, beef up their cornerbacks with Trent McDuffie, who fell a hell of a lot in our mock draft. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers take inside offensive lineman Zion Johnson out of Boston College, who also fell a lot. Green Bay Packers take George Karlaftis, edge out of Purdue, to beef up the defense. Kansas City, with back-to-back picks, take Sky Moore and Lewis Sign out of Georgia. Safety, Sky Moore, wide receiver out of Western Michigan. Both should be deadly weapons for the Chiefs. And the Cincinnati Bengals also beef up their defense, taking Daxton Hill, safety out of Michigan. I think he has less potential than Lewis Sign, and Brandon agrees with me on that as well. And the Detroit Lions with their last pick, another Brandon Wild one here, Desmond Ritter, assuming that Jared Goff will be traded before the offseason is over.
And that's 100% factual. All these picks, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Is the A.J. Brown trade is going to happen?
Absolutely. If not, then what are we doing this for?
Exactly. I mean, if I'm not Kel Miper, then what's the point of this?
I have no freaking idea, but I'm stoked for the draft to be back, especially in Vegas. I was just there last week. Got to see the setup. Absolutely amazing setup in Vegas. Draft starts 8 p.m. ESPN, just the first round tomorrow, second and third round Friday. And then 4 through 7 will be Saturday. Maybe you and Alec will be talking about Champions League playoffs as well. First leg was the other day between Real Madrid and Manchester City. A hell of a match, let me tell you. I actually watched it, which is absurd because I don't watch soccer, but I did watch it. But anyways, I've got nothing else. Let's get this draft started tomorrow. I feel like there's going to be a lot of more moves than what we talked about tonight. I think there'll be a lot more trade ups within. I think we'll probably see teams that are not in the first round trade up to be in the first round.
If any of the trades that you predicted or projecting actually happen, I will lose my absolute mind.
I would probably kick myself and pinch myself. If they happen, we should be on every single news outlet on how I predicted every single pick. What if it happens? Like 100%, this happens. Like 100%.
Like the AJ Brown happens, they end up taking Jahan Dotson, and then they take Trent McDuffie, who falls for some reason, and then your DeAndre Swift trade happens, and then later on Jared Goff gets traded. That'd just be, you need to be betting more then.
And then Desmond Ritter, last pick of the draft. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I've got nothing else. Alec, we wish you were here. We will talk to you. And hey, go Hawks. Linderbaum with the Patriots, Bill Belichick system. Great pickup. I'm stoked NFL is just under 150 days away. College football, I believe we are closing in on 110 days away. I've got nothing else, man.
Neither do I. Go freaking Nittany Lions once again, getting ourselves another first-round draft pick.
And also thank you to those who have been viewing our videos on YouTube. We are posting a lot more on there as well. Thank you for the comments, the likes. Make sure to go subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Sharp Sports Report. If you want anything else that you want mentioned in our podcast or anything like that, shoot us a message or we'll put polls up. Give us your input. We'll definitely put some tweets out on our podcast as well, give you guys some love and show them what's going on. Other than that, I've got nothing else. From Alec, since he's not here, go Hawks, go Steelers, Malik Willis. I will be buying your jersey once you get drafted, and I will be super excited to wear that. Other than that, I got nothing else.
Nothing else. Go Birds. Go Nittany Lions. Just go NFL in general. I'm loving this.
We will talk to you guys hopefully later this week.
Hopefully.